Okay, Brain Trust by Colm Kelleher. And I'm probably not doing this dude's name any justice, but this is by Colm Kelleher, PhD. Um, this this book was, I believe, written in the late 90s. I want to say it came out in 98 or 99, and that date's kind of important. So let me just confirm when exactly this came out. Uh, oh, I was off by about 5 years. So 2004 is when this was released. So Brain Trust is about the connection of mad cow disease to possibly to the spread of Alzheimer's in the general population. Um, Really fascinating book in here, and I'm going to skim over the mad cow part and focus in on why exactly I have this part of my as part of my library. I was interested in the mad cow angle, um, but the real fascinating thing to me about this is Colm Kelleher was part of NIDS. That was the National Institute for Discovery Sciences, if I remember the acronym correctly. And NIDS was put together by Robert Bigelow. Now, if you've followed some other book reviews, you might be aware Robert Bigelow uh, is alleged to possibly have connections to the CIA and was possibly running NIDS on behalf of the CIA or the NSA or somebody like that, because NIDS was supposedly a civilian effort at intelligence gathering about some of the weird things that were happening with mad cow disease and things like that. But once all this data was collected by guys like Colm Kelleher, Gabe Valdez, and others, once this data was collected, Robert Bigelow said, gee, thanks, guys, and we're time to go home. And they thought that this would all be shared as some kind of public, to enter kind of the public discussion about these events like alien abductions, cattle mutilation, UFOs, all that sort of thing that he was looking into. But instead, all this data just got compiled and they said, thank you, drive through. Well, so one of the fascinating things about this is Colm Kelleher kind of cryptically mentions in this that cattle mutilations are conducted on behalf of some agency of the U.S. government looking for evidence of the spread of mad cow disease, that they are sampling free range cattle and using helicopters, silent helicopters, to do this in order to gauge the spread of mad cow disease. And they are doing this covertly so as not to raise alarm in the general population about how widespread mad cow disease really is. I found that really interesting in light of my digging into cattle mutilations and that sort of thing. I don't think that's the full picture on the cattle mutilation story, but I think that's a really important detail to it. Because again, being that he was NIDS and he signed of some very strict non-disclosure agreements, I guarantee you there's more to it than that. But that's probably about as far as he could take it in this book. So there's some really interesting information there. Also interesting is mad cow's relationship to a brain disease called Kuru, which was typically found in cannibal tribes where they ate the brains of their victims. And he points out the connection to, cows being fed cows. When you start feeding animals their own, when they start eating ground up remains of other animals, and basically they essentially become cannibals, that it creates this brain prion, or I'm butchering all this, I'm sure. It's some kind of protein or something in the brain that does not die or cannot be destroyed through cooking. High temperature won't get rid of it. So even carefully cooked meat doesn't get rid of this protein or this modified protein that occurs through this process. And I know I'm by no means a scientist, so read this book if you want to understand that a little bit better. But just look up Kuru and its effects on people, and the relationship between Kuru and Alzheimer's is a very fascinating connection. And also, there's a scientist in here, and I'm going to have to go back and read this again to check. But there's a scientist he follows right at the beginning of the book that has since turned up in some other kind of questionable activities. So I'm going to leave it at that. But Brain Trust by Colm Kelleher is a fascinating investigation into mad cow disease. But like I said, he touches on it just a little bit here and there about talking about there being a secret monitoring program to monitor the spread of mad cow through the use of helicopters and this, what people perceive as an alien mutilation, cattle mutilation thing. Now, he never draws that parallel of saying they're trying to make it look like aliens are doing it or anything like that, but he just kind of casually throws that out that this is this monitoring program, but then never follows it up. So he's one of those guys I would love to speak with off the record and say, hey, dude, what do you really think is going on there? Because some of the implications of this are really fascinating and also really terrifying. So, Brain Trust by Colm A. Kelleher, PhD.